What's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. It's your host, Leah. Tell Me Lies fans, you are not going to want to miss this episode. Today, I am joined by Sadie Demarco, Steven's little sister, to talk about all of the chaos that is this season of Tell Me Lies. Now, if you are unfamiliar, if you are new here, I interviewed Alayna Hester, that's her name in real life, last season, to talk about season 1 and what to expect for season 2. Now, she did give us a little bit of a sneak peek that we've seen happening season 2. So for me personally, it's been really fun to see that come to fruition. And it's exciting that now we get an inside scoop into season 2. So first of all, if you are not following Alayna Hester on social media, please go add her so that you can see all of the behind the scenes photos that she has from her time on Tell Me Lies, as well as see where she's going next. If you missed it, she played in the Hulu series Dope Sick, which is another series that I've covered on my podcast. The series itself was kind of heavy, but very informative and impactful. So if you've missed that and you would like to see more that she's starred in, go on over and check that out. Law & Order fans, listen in. She's in Law & Order, regular Law & Order, Criminal Intent. So if you are still watching Law & Order, look for her. Maybe you haven't noticed her before, but those are the things that she's involved in. I'm so excited to talk to her specifically today about Tell Me Lies. If you'd like to hear anything more about her roles in those movies or just about how she got started in her acting career, where she started, listen to my old episode from last year when we touched base after season 1. So let's get into it. So for everybody who's new here, or for everybody who doesn't immediately recognize her, this is Alayna Hester, who is acting in the hit show on Hulu right now, Tell Me Lies Season 2. Welcome back, and thank you for making time.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back.
And for everybody shocked at her little accent, you can find out all about her vocal training and all of the classes that she did for that in our first episode we did together. This is a reminder. Go back and listen. We hit lots of really niche topics in our last episode, and each and every one of them was equally enjoyable. So go back, get some behind the scenes, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. But yeah, I love your drawl every time I hear it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was it's crazy. That was like almost 2 years ago that we did that.
Oh my gosh, you just shocked me.
Yeah, that was, I believe, January of 2023, right?
Oh my gosh, you're right. It was almost 2 years ago. Look at us still keeping in contact.
I know. You said after season 2 that I'd be back on, and here we are 2 years later.
Let it be known you are a woman of your word, because when you messaged me, I screamed at the top of my lungs. I'm like, she remembered me. Like, it was a huge deal for me. It's like a very big accomplishment when anyone comes on my podcast and then would like to return on. So I was honored immediately.
Beautiful. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's start this here.
Juicy season.
Juice. I want to start here first. Do you feel like reception to season 2 has been more than season 1?
100%, yeah. I think season 2 has been like, they really honed in on the press for this season, which was great because like they amped up the storyline like 5 notches, like more toxic and ridiculous, and then the press, they like amped up just as much. So I think that it took people a while to catch on to season 1 too. So I think that after season 1 came out, people like started slowly finding out about it over the course of the strike and everything. So over like between the first 2 seasons, because of the strike, we went quite a while between filming seasons, and I think it started to slowly gain popularity in like the down months, and then when season 2 came out, people were like, let's go.
That's exactly right. And thank you for reminding me because I cannot believe that I forgot that there was the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike. I
Hmm.
totally forgot about that and how like oh my God, that was a devastating time, not only for
Yeah.
people who are acting and, screenwriting, but also just as viewers, like waiting on your favorite shows, wanting your like cast members to
Yeah.
get the treatment that they deserve. I think that you're right. It gave it time to snowball sort of.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, last we spoke, you were also simultaneously working on a project in Law and Order. How is
Hmm.
that going?
Well, it went great. So since
Okay.
then, my character, like, throughout the season, I just like sort of popped up in random places, and then because I played the daughter of the lead detective, so they would like find little ways to work my character into the storyline to serve like a tiny like a subplot type thing
Yes. Uh-huh.
until the end of the season, and then shit really ramped up with my character. But I got to do a court scene. I got
Oh.
to do a court scene. I was on the stand, and it was yeah, it was like a tug on the heartstrings of their like lead detective of the show, and like suddenly his work is intermingling with his real life and whatever. So that was really cool.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. That makes me excited to watch her. And I can't wait to see you on the stand. So, obviously,
Yeah.
naturally, me personally, I will be watching. Before we dive completely into your episode that you were on, episode 5 of Tell Me Lies,
Hmm.
let's get just a couple of behind the scenes on working on Tell Me Lies, and then we're going to go into your character's perspective.
Okay.
So, we already went into that season 2 has had a lot more people on board watching than season 1.
Hmm.
As far as filming season 2, has there been any differences on set? Is there more people? Like, what has your experience been like?
Thankfully, we've had like pretty much the same crew from season 1. So we had all of our OGs back for the second season, which was so cute because it was like just a reunion of everybody. So it was really neat to see a lot of familiar faces from season 1 behind the camera too. Like our hair and makeup team was the
Right.
same. Our camera crew was the same, everybody. So it was a beautiful little reuniting. And then like Jackson and I um obviously stayed in contact between the seasons, and then whenever season 2 happened, we were so excited because we didn't know if Sadie would be coming back this season, and so we were just like anticipating a storyline. And then when the script for the episode was written, he like I was talking to him on the phone, and he was like, "Have they told you about the episode yet?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "It's juicy." He was like, "It's so good." And so, yeah, we were so excited to work together again. And then like whenever I came in to hair and makeup for my first day back, like it was such a crazy moment, like seeing each other again. It was so we fell back into everything immediately. Like it was, our first scene. The first scene we filmed together for this season was really intense, and there's something about our connection that like plays so well for this close brother sister dynamic, because it's like something about it's like a tangible connection where no matter what scene we're doing together, we're gonna be locked in, because it's like we read each other really well. And something about there were scenes that we did together where I couldn't stop crying during rehearsal, just because it was like that. Like, even just hearing him say the lines, I couldn't, like, it was hard to,
Separate
yeah,
almost. Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting because my next question was actually who serves as your mentor the most on set? And I'm wondering that could be a good segue. Like, is it because Jackson serves as such a big mentor to you on set that you fall into that brother sister type relationship?
Yeah, I think him and Grace both have been really I've called Grace for advice on just like life stuff a decent
Okay.
amount, and she's been very helpful because she like gets it, because we're both women in the industry who are also dating men within the industry. So it's like having a relationship within like being being actors and also having like a public relationship and having to deal with the sort of like stressors or like just weird things that aren't natural to regular relationships, having to deal with that. I
Yes.
think she's been a huge mentor for me from that, like just because she gets it from a girl's perspective. And then but Jackson is he's like if we're out somewhere, he's just falls into that big brother role immediately. He's like, "How many of those drinks have you had?" Is that alcohol?
I can't even picture him being nice. Like, I swear to God, like his character is so evil,
He's
so
good.
volatile, and he plays it so well that as
Oh
far
yeah.
as picturing Stephen Nice, the closest glimpse we get is later on in this episode, which we'll get to, where we see a moment about your shoes. But I'm like, there we go. That's the nicest moment Steven's ever been because
Yeah.
like everything else is so rooted with like some sort of nefarious intention behind it. And
Mm,
he's so good at illustrating that.
yeah.
And I love that they chose Jackson and you to illustrate this brother sister role because in the book, it was really hard to like picture Steven's like family dynamic. Like, so
Mhm.
seeing it come to life on screen actually makes the book make a lot more sense as well. And
Right.
like what his situation is. Um, quickly, what is your favorite episode? If you've seen the whole season, can you say what your favorite episode was?
Okay, so I'm gonna remove bias and take my episode out of the question.
Okay, fair.
I would say episode shoot. Episode 6 and 7 are like really close for me. I think maybe episode 6, because it was so like just shooting the whole thing in one room with everybody in there, like just the tension just bubbling. There's so much that has to be conveyed within this one room, and there's I just thought it was genius the way that it all
Genius.
unfolded. And then, like, not to spoil anything, but that last scene between Grace and Jackson, where like, Steven's sitting in the library and then Grace walks in. Yeah, that scene got me.
Me too. She's like,
So
why
good.
are you fucking with me? All I
Yeah.
ever did was love you.
The safety that you feel with somebody in real life, I think helps a ton. So I know that just like their relationship is so toxic on screen, it reads so well because even though their relationship is great in real life, they feel so comfortable and safe with each other to just completely go full out with the toxic shit, you know?
Yes.
So, I think the same goes for me and Jackson. You know, when we have those like scenes that are really locked in or tense or whatever, or making fun of each other, we can go all in because we're comfortable with each other
Right.
in
You
real
have good
life. So,
rapport. Right.
right. So, like, even just friendships, close friendships, and romantic relationships, I think those all play into a cohesive story, which really serves like Tell Me Lies well, because all the cast is close. So everybody feels very comfortable with each other in real life, which is why they can be so horrible to each other on screen and it turn out so well.
you can really tell that the cast members are close.
Yeah.
Like it makes you want to be a fly on the wall to see what everyone does when they hang out with each other because number one, you picture someone acting exactly as their character does. And number two,
Mm.
I just want to know how everybody relaxes. Before we dive into the episode, in your experience, besides Jackson, who's the most different from the character they play in that show?
It's an interesting question because I feel like everybody is so similar to their characters minus the toxicity. So Spencer, who plays Wrigley, he's such the way Wrigley talks is exactly how
Thank
Spencer
God.
talks in real life. It is exactly him.
I'm
You are
obsessed with
seeing
him.
Spencer.
Good.
Yeah. And then Sonia, who plays Pippa,
Love her.
she's really, really sweet. I think like she's very minus the I think she's a very like confident, beautiful
Yes.
person in real life, and her character is slightly like kind of
Having
self-conscious and in her
doubts.
own
Yes.
head and whatever. So I think minus that, the personality, the sweet, like endearing sort of softer spoken personality is very much her in real life. And then Grace, minus the toxicity and the sometimes stupidity of Lucy. Grace is very wise and very sweet, very soft-spoken, but also stands up for herself like Lucy does. Like Lucy does sometimes.
Because sometimes, literally,
Yeah.
emphasis on the sometimes, for Lucy's character in the
Yeah.
show, obviously.
And then Brandon who plays
Evan.
he is also just like this sweet, like such a sweet, adorable person, and that's kind of how you feel about Evan. Now Evan messes some stuff up this season. He's not done the best job, but Brandon in real life is a perfect angel,
Love. And I believe that. I believe every bit of it. I love the behind the scenes, anything we can get.
Alicia that plays
Oh, yes,
Diana. We finally got to work together this season because we didn't, even though she was in my episode last season, we didn't get to work with each other. We just like saw each other in passing, but that was it. So getting to like know her and become friends with her this season was such a cute friendship. And I'd say like she's spicy and kind of like fiery like her character, but in a really sweet, down to earth way. Diana is very oblivious and very like maybe not oblivious. She's maybe blissfully in denial. Diana, but Alicia is very like
aware.
In real life, Alicia is she's very aware, and she's so sweet, but I think everybody was cast with pieces of them in the character, because it's like, yeah, I think it's such good casting.
That makes sense. And they say that, like, like the best way to lie too is when there's like a sliver of truth in it. So when you think about casting in general, it's easier to play a role if you have some commonalities between the characters so that you can really like get in there, I would assume, at least.
Yeah.
Jumping around a little bit. Now we're going to get into episode 5. Your character shows up, okay? And now, mind you, I haven't seen you in a year. Like, so we're like, where has Sadie been? And we know from what we hear in this episode that you got accepted to boarding school, and thus you were able to escape the toxic environment at home. Without giving too much away, does it feel like your character is thriving now? What was your impression of how Sadie's doing now prior to the incident with Steven?
I think she's definitely doing better than she was season 1, because she's out of that environment. She's finding her way in a new life. But my impression of her is that she still probably has trouble trusting people because of the way that she was raised and because of her mom and the trauma with her mom. So I think like the way that she thrives may look slightly different to just a happy, normal life. She's making new friends, she's finding her own way, but I think there's childhood and teenage trauma for her that is inevitably has to be hard to escape, you know? So I think like it's affected her differently than it's affected Steven, because it didn't make her a crazy like manipulative chess piece moving
Yeah.
person.
Right.
But I think I I would assume that she is so close with Steven because that's the only person she knows she can trust.
Agreed. That makes sense. What about the dynamic in your opinion, and without giving too much away, because obviously you don't want to spoil the last episode, but will we ever get some sort of context to when you leave? Because obviously knowing Steven's mom's character in the show, that would be something that she probably would get very upset about, you deciding that you're leaving the house. So do you know if we'll ever get to see that? Can you say?
Um, our the reaction from our mom.
Yes, like how she reacted to you leaving, all of that.
Right. Well, episode 8 of season 1, we kind of saw that when she called him. And
True.
yeah, and she was like, she essentially skirted around saying it for a bit, but she's like, yeah, Sadie's going to boarding school now, and I can't afford both, which is like bullshit. But, but she's like, you know, essentially, you helped Sadie
Right.
leave me. So now I'm going to leave you in the dust. I'm going to cut off your funds. You're going to have to figure out your own job, whatever, as a way to punish him. And I don't know if Sadie knows that that happened. I would assume that she probably does, but she definitely knows that what Stephen did for her wasn't easy. Like going to our dad, Steven's a very prideful person, and he had to swallow a lot of pride to show up at our dad's house for me, you know? So I think with it made so much sense to see our mom like punishing him
Punish him by cutting him off.
for helping her daughter.
Right.
Like she's punishing her son for
Right.
helping her daughter because
Right.
it's a situation that doesn't benefit her. And I
Right.
think that's so telling of who she is and the environment that we were raised in. But the fact that Steven, you see in that moment that Steven's not, this is the only person, Sadie's the only person Steven's not willing to screw over
Right.
for his own gain. He's like, okay, if it keeps my sister out of that house, I will get a job to pay for my school. Like
Right.
I am not letting her go back there.
I'm glad that we brought this up because there were a couple of plot points I forgot about in season one, but it wasn't until rewatching episode 5, actually, before this interview, that I heard Steven say in passing, and I believe to Evan when he was retrieving your shoes in the episode, that he was cut off. Like, like he was cut off, and had Diana's dad not been paying for his schooling, like, and then I forget who else he said was chipping in, but he wouldn't have been able to live there.
Yeah.
So I completely forgot that she already had that bit of retaliation with Steven. So it makes sense even more that Steven was really clinging to you, especially this season as his little sister, because you were one of the last like roots to home that he has speaking with him right now.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure.
I want to know, you said that your character trusts Steven, especially in comparison to your mother.
Yeah.
So do you think your character, how much do you think that Sadie trusts Steven? Like, was she completely shocked to hear the voicemail at the end of the episode? Or do you think it was more confirmation of what she was hoping wasn't how he is?
I think she was completely, before her trip to Baird, before she visited the college to see him, I think she was still largely unaware. I think that as things went on and little bits and pieces, like every time somebody comes up to her or she tries to stand up for Steven and somebody knocks her back, like I think like piece by piece, the whole episode was just little chips at her image of him, you know, like, but she's still clinging on to that because they're essentially all each other truly has.
Right.
So it's like they're clinging, like Sadie will cling on to that for as long as she can. So it's still until proof is shoved in her face, she is going to believe Steven. And so it's like slowly chipping at the confidence in that facade throughout the episode. And then I think the whole voicemail thing at the end it was, she wants to believe that it was completely a shock,
Right.
but I think her confidence was just a little bit broken before that. But I think that's still the ultimate moment where everything makes sense and you suddenly realize that all these people and what they've told you about him, maybe they're not all liars. Maybe it's just him, like
Right.
that's when she finally, I think it takes a reminding of, it takes her being triggered by
Totally.
the same language her mom
Absolutely.
uses, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like they've always been, since they were kids, a team against their
Yes.
mom, and like even their own other brother doesn't understand. So it's like they are a team and they are going against her, and then for the first time she's like, do I have anybody on my team actually? Like, is this person that I'm looking at right now, it's like, it's so heartbreaking watching that scene. It
It
like,
is.
it almost makes me cry, like watching it back, because
Right.
you see her
You're
in
so
real
shaken up
time.
by it. Like
Yeah.
it,
In
yes.
real time, she's looking at him, like actually kind of looking him up and down to see,
Yes.
like, is this the person
Right.
that I thought was on, are we on the same team?
Right. And also,
Yeah.
like, kind of like, am I safe here? Like, are you going to do this to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like a moment of like, I don't know that I thought the brother I knew was like capable of this. Like you said, it was always supposed to be a team of us
Mhm.
against mom who was acting like this. So to see that you're acting like this, like that was like a very shocking moment for your character. And you acted your little ass off.
Thank
You
you.
ate that scene up. I was like, ah, Sadie. Like I was screaming with you. I was like, look at her. Look at her. Okay, Lucy, now you fucking shocked her. Not like, and it's like, I didn't even blame Lucy because I'm like, that's tea. Like, she needed to know. But it was a lot. Okay, so I want to hit on this too because you hit a great point. There's a lot of things that feel very realistic about your character and the show in general. It's very realistic that you were so naive. This is your brother. Like you see him as you're very confident in him. Like
Right.
it's like your blind loyalty and naivety. And then like he goes and gets your shoes, and you're like, like my brother's a good person, and they're
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
well, no, he's not. And like, I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you why. So I found that really endearing actually, and it adds to it feeling realistic. Additionally, Diana, his girlfriend now, coming up to try to like take you away from that conversation and being like, why would you do that? And having another point of tension with Lucy.
Mhm.
Do you think, in your opinion, was it wrong of them to tell you? Like, just your moral opinion, you're watching the show. Are you like, that was too far of them to tell Sadie? Or are you like, yeah, she needed to know?
Okay, so I've seen a lot of conflict over that online. People
Yes.
argue in the comments about, like, she shouldn't have done that. It wasn't her place. And then people are like, no, she needed to know. She saved Sadie. Like, I think for me it's definitely, the way I described this episode has always been, there's going to be some mixed
Reviews.
opinions on this. It makes you question your own moral, like, outlook on it. I think for me, I'd say, like, Sadie needed to know, but not necessarily in that way. Sadie needed to know, but the way that Lucy blew up at Sadie at the party, like, yes, Sadie provoked her. Like, Sadie truly, she
Totally.
came in to stir shit up. Like, she
Right.
got to college and she's
Right.
like, let's go.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I think there's it's multifaceted. I don't think
Hmm.
you can blame I pushed Lucy,
Right. And like her
but
friend pushed her too, to be fair, because like
right.
had Lydia not gone up to Steven and talk shit to him, which she told her not to do, there would
Yeah.
be no conversation where you as the little sister felt the need to
Yeah.
defend her. So I felt like Lucy
Yeah.
was pushed a little bit by you, but like mostly because what you were saying was absurd. And she's like, oh my God, Steven's saying I am the stalker.
But the
Me.
way that, yeah, but like the way that Lydia egged everything on and just
Ugh.
like pushed, it was that was the true horror of it.
That's the villain right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Because she literally, like, Lydia came up to Steven. It's nothing to do with her. Like, I
Nothing.
understand standing up for your friend, but
Me
like
too.
the way that she went about it, and then the way that she's like,
Yes.
Lucy, why don't you tell Sadie what her
Yes.
brother's like? It
Yes.
was
It's like you're
so,
leaving college and then this is Lucy's real life that she has to deal with the
yeah.
consequences. And you just came in, blew shit up on her, and then left. It's
Personally, I think Lydia knew that. I think she knew, like, maybe
Lucy.
she's convinced herself in her mind
Mm.
that she's helping Lucy, but like she knows that she's just stirring the pot. Like she pushed Lucy to the point of breaking so that instead of blowing up on Lydia, she blows up on me.
Okay, that's tea. Okay, Lydia and Steven deserve each other. I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy. So let's go to the voicemail. You get sent that. You're on Facebook browsing, which is so 2016. It's so perfect. Or 2009, whatever year it is. I think it's
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
So you're on Facebook. You get the DM. You shut your laptop or Steven comes in. He's
Mhm.
like, "No, you won't be listening to this." And she shuts it down physically, literally, all of it.
Mhm.
I want to know when he's talking to you, do you believe him? Like, do you think Stady believes him? He's like, he said he doesn't speak to people this way. It's a one-off thing, and that you don't
Mhm.
know how much Lucy has terrorized him this semester. As
Right.
she's gathering her stuff, what do you think she's thinking?
Um, she honestly, I think she just shuts down. I think it's hard for
Mm,
her to believe anything because it's like she knows deep down. I think like as soon as she hears the voicemail, it's so familiar to her that she cannot deny it anymore. Like that has sent her back to their home. Like that has sent her back to exactly where she just escaped from. And you know how many times her mom has told her like, honey, like I'm not trying to hurt you. Like, I can't believe that you would think that I would do something like that. Like I've never done something like that before. I'm so sorry. It's just a one off. But like you should be sorry for the way that you reacted to that. Like that she's heard that shit so many times from their mom that
right.
now it's just and she could never really say anything about it because the mom was pulling the strings. So it's like that is how real, I tried to really get into what the product of an abusive home life creates and
Right.
the trauma, the triggers that send you back to
Right.
trauma. And
Right.
so it's like as soon as she hears the voicemail, I think
Mm,
she goes into this same mode that she's always had to learn how to click on with their
yep.
mom. But
Yep.
this time, with their mom, it's not personal anymore because she just knows who she is.
Right.
Like it's not that it doesn't hurt, but she's just
She knows who
it
she
it
is. She
can't
expects
affect
it.
her as much, right?
Hmm.
But with Steven, that's a completely different thing. So the response is still the same, but it's much more like a dagger. It's much more of a I thought I thought you were the one that was helping me escape this exact
Right.
same abuse. And now I am faced with my ally, like being the same person as my enemy, you know?
Right. And we can assume that it's definitely affecting Sadie because it's now been 2 episodes since episode 5. And in
Mm.
both of them, they have said, Steven hasn't talked to you, which is very interesting because Steven has been encouraging Wrigley to not talk to his brother. And at
Mhm.
the absolute center of the demise of Drew and Wrigley's relationship. So to now see his sister ignore him and be in a very similar situation, it's really interesting to watch Steven have all of this chaos happen.
Yeah, and I think it highlights how when it comes to pulling the strings with everybody else, he can sort of get away with whatever he wants. And if he wants to talk to somebody, normally he's going to find a way to talk to them. He's going to find a way to get their mind somehow back into like
Manipulated. Yeah.
orbit, you know? So I think with his sister, I think that's the only person he really cares
Agreed.
that he can't keep in his orbit
Agreed.
anymore, you know? Like I think he's
Hmm.
trying to the way that that scene and that episode sent his character into like that was the beginning of his reflection,
Right.
self-reflection, I
Right.
think, because Sadie was when he had Sadie, that was the one person that believed the facade. That was
It,
the
it
one
led him to
person.
believe,
Right.
and it led him believe it too. Like he's like, I
Right.
have one person, my sister, who believes I'm a good person and I do everything for her. And as long as she thinks that, I can
Right.
still lie to myself. And then
Right.
he had that taken away from him because of
Right.
the actions of his own self, you
Right.
know?
And then he's trying still to hold on to that facade, like in episode 6. Like he's like, yeah, my own sister won't even talk to me anymore. Like I
Right.
guess I just gotta like stop caring if people think I'm the villain or whatever. And then
Right.
Evan was like,
You
I
care.
think you care more
Yeah.
than you want to admit. And it's
Mm-hmm.
true because this is everybody else when they stopped talking to him or cut him out or found out what was behind the facade, like they if he couldn't if he couldn't get through to them, he'd just find a way to manipulate the situation. It was just like an immediate scheming, like, okay, how
Yep.
can I make this work for my benefit? But in this situation, he wants he wants nothing from Sadie. He doesn't
Right.
have anything to gain from her other than her support and her view of her brother.
Right.
So I
Which is
think
a little bit.
that's
Like that gives
right.
him a little bit. Like I don't think he wants anything from Sadie in the way that he wants things from other people, but I do believe that it fueled his ability to not look at himself, like you said.
100%.
And when you cut it, I mean, and when you had that look at him, it was truly the first time he was able to look at himself and be like, "Oh my God." Like
Yeah.
maybe I go too far. Even
Right.
though I think that for Steven's character in Tell Me Lies, since I've read the book, spoiler warning, he's a literal sociopath in the book and he doesn't experience true empathy, at least in the
Mhm.
book. So I'm
Right.
wondering if that will be the same thing for the show. Like,
I know that they wanted his character to deviate from the book. They wanted there to be
okay,
more
good.
moral questioning,
Okay,
more
good.
like yeah, because in the book, his relationship with his sister is not nearly as important.
It's not
Yeah, it's nothing and nobody is really important to him.
nothing.
So, yeah,
Hmm.
so in the show, I think there's a lot more nuance to his morality and
He's
diving into
more
that
like a
more.
narcissist than a
Yeah,
sociopath
because it's
in
not
the series.
right. Because it's not interesting to like for a TV show to have a character that's just one note and you know what they're doing, you know what they're thinking the whole time. There has to be some questioning for it. And I think that's what they've done really well with Steven. They've still kept this facade of like he is
Is he a
You
good guy? Is he not?
Well, you know he's not a good guy. Like that's never really in question, but like the question is more, does he feel anything at all ever? I think
Yeah.
that's more of the
Or like,
nuance.
does he love anyone? Like, I
Yeah.
genuinely wonder that. Does he love anybody besides his sister? Like, is he
Mm,
capable of romantically loving someone? I wonder that.
right. Right. I think yeah,
Because
that's a tough, I don't know
yeah,
the answer to
and
that.
and we'll have to wait and see because it seems very cat and mouse. You see Lucy having sex in the hot tub even at the wedding 9 years later, right in front of Steven, and they fall right back
Jesus.
into it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, they fall right back into it. It's very much this, can I still make you tick? Okay. And it
Yeah.
goes back to Steven's conversation with Lucy, too, where he said, do you think I'm a good person? She's like, no. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, and did you love me anyways? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, I need to be with you pretty much because I am a
Right.
horrible person. So
Right.
I think that they will constantly be fighting that within each other.
Yeah.
Well, last question, and then we're gonna wrap it on up. Do you think that there will be space for a season 3? Can you share that?
Yes, there will definitely be space for a season 3. This is yeah, the finale will wrap some things up, but it's there is much more. There are so many more years between the wedding and college, and it's like what happened between there? And hopefully we'll be able to find out.
I'm gonna be so mad if they end on like a huge, huge plot twist, but I have a feeling they're going to because obviously that's smart. It's good marketing, good intention to get another
I don't know.
season. But I'm super excited. Thank you so much for sharing all of the behind the scenes that you shared. Thank you for making time in your day to talk about all of the lore of Tell Me Lies and putting on
Of
your
course.
Sadie Demarco cap to kind of like think
Oh
in
yeah.
her perspective. Is there anything else that you would like to share, or can you tell us where to follow you on social media?
Yeah, I am at Alayna Hester R on Instagram because Alayna Hester was taken. So I am Alayna Hester R on Instagram. And other than that, I haven't used TikTok in years, but
Fair.
I want to get into posting more of my music on TikTok. So you can find me under the same username on TikTok. Other than that, I don't really use any other social media.
Okay, I will find you on TikTok. I can't wait to listen to your music. Everybody, go support Alayna. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, well, this was perfect. Everybody, thank you for listening. Make sure to rate this episode 5 stars if you're listening on Spotify. Just give us a thumbs up if you're listening on YouTube, and have an amazing day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.